Yo guys, welcome back. I got some running video here today with the FMS FJ40. Just doing some suspension testing. I will have a video coming up soon about my suspension setup since I've done the leaf spring kit on this truck. Just want to show you guys what I got going on for shocks, and there's a few minor issues with the steering. When you switch to the leaf springs, there's a couple things you need to do to get the steering straightened out, and that is mainly because adding the leaf springs does raise your ride height by about, depending on how many leaves you install, let's say it raises your ride height by about 8 to 12 millimeters, and that can cause a little bit of alignment issues with the steering, and I have a way to kind of work around that. You see here today, I kind of was able to get my my winch working here out on the trail. Got my little high lift jack mounted to the side, and I just had a lot of fun on this trail run. Found a really cool spot where I normally go mountain biking down along the stream. The water's been pretty low lately. We're in a little bit of a drought, so we have all of this exposed rock on the side of the stream here. Really cool spot for crawling. Happy I took this truck out today in this spot. It just worked out really well. That's what I think is some really cool video, and I just had a lot of fun with it. I did have a minor issue you'll see coming up with the rear drive shaft, and that'll be the subject of a future video. I did order some different steel drive shafts. I'm hoping they're going to work out well, and if they do, I'll have a video on that, and I'll show you guys exactly what happened to the rear drive shaft. Essentially, the metal universal just spun inside the plastic spline, and it's just kind of a weak design, so I think just replacing it with the steel drive shaft is going to work out well. But anyway, that'll be a future video, and along with the shocks, I do have some longer shocks on this truck. They worked out really well up front, but the rear is still a little bit of an issue. I want to find a better solution before I show you guys the results. It works really well, but I think it could be just that much better. You can see here the increased ride height really solved the problem of the tire rubbing issue, especially on the rear where it was rubbing the inner fender wells. And the increased clearance, you know, it doesn't look like it here in this clip, but the increased clearance underneath has really been great in terms of approach, departure angles, breakover. Just really works well. You know, this is a bit extreme, this rocky environment here, and it's pretty slick. Tires are pretty wet, and this rock, again, is usually covered by water, so it's pretty smooth. It's worn pretty smooth, and it's not the grippiest rock. Super humid out today, but honestly, like, these tires and inserts were working really well, and I was getting some good traction, so good enough traction to break the rear drive shaft at one point. But so yeah, the increased ride height on this didn't really seem to negatively affect the center of gravity. Not anything super noticeable anyway. I'm sure it did. You have any truck that sits a little bit higher, the center of gravity is going to be a little worse. But in terms of, you can see how stable this thing is. I think it's much more of a benefit to have the added clearance, especially the bumper clearance front and rear for approach and departure. Really noticeable difference, noticeable improvement. Just having it sit up a little bit higher, and like I mentioned, having the tires not really rub. These tires are a little bit large. It's probably the largest I would run on this. They are a true 4.75. I may end up switching to more like a Toyo Open Country just for a little bit more of a scale look on this truck, but for now these are working out great and no more rubbing issues, so I think it's a huge benefit. I also have the plus 3, I believe. It's like an 8mm hex that I'm running on this, so it sets the wheels out a little bit further, 3 millimeters on each side, and that seemed to make a noticeable improvement in terms of clearance, but again, mainly because these tires are on the larger side for this truck. I'm trying to figure out, I don't know what they would equate to. I guess if you're going according to scale, these would be more like a 48-inch tire, but I don't think they look quite 48-inch. I would say maybe, I don't know, what do you guys think they look like on this? If this were a real vehicle, would they look more like a 40-inch tire on here? Hard to say. I'd have to look at some pictures of real FJs with different size wheels and tires to get an idea. But regardless, they work out really well, so I'm going to leave them on there for now until I get everything else dialed in. I got a couple more little scale accessories coming for this thing. You can see my little winch line up there with the land anchor and the snatch block, which I use later in the video after my drive shaft breaks. Thank God I had the winch. I was able to kind of keep driving and have fun making the video, and it wasn't the worst catastrophic failure. So you might notice a little bit less steering noise in this video, and that's because I did switch out the servo. I will link it up down below. I am running the DS3235 Pro on the higher voltage, so this is running at 8.4 volts, so it does put out, there's been videos where guys test it and they say it puts out an actual 50 kg at that voltage. So I'm really happy with the servo in this truck. I run this is my go-to servo for all my crawlers, and you can get like a single one for like 30 bucks off Amazon. If you buy a 2-pack, they end up being about, I think, $52 for both, so it's a really great price, and it's a great servo. Really good power. Not ultra quiet, but way quieter than the stock one, so it just worked out really well. I'm happy with that. In the next video where I do where I go over the suspension and the steering mods, I'll show you guys the servo a little bit more up close, but it's essentially just a replacement for the stock one. It mounts the same way. It's really simple install. So aside from that, my future plans for this, I think I want to do the aluminum steering knuckles, and that's really, it'll be part of my steering upgrade video, but mainly to reduce flex. I haven't had an issue with them so far, but you'll see when I make that video what I'm talking about. You really need to add a spacer between the rod end on the steering knuckle just to get it to sit a little more flat, and again, it's because of the increased ride height of the entire chassis. Sits higher than the axle. So when you add that spacer, it introduces, yeah, you can see right here, just I got caught up on a root, and I kind of tried to power up the hill, and that's the first time the drive shaft spun. And you could see after this, it kind of gets a little bit of drive, but it just slips a lot. So I guess it's one way to end up with more overdrive up front, but I really struggled with all the climbs after from this point on, so I ended up using the winch a little bit here and there, and I just kind of drove on more level terrain and just did some more downhill running. So I was able to keep going, but was kind of disappointed that thing let loose. And again, I'll show you exactly what the issue was in a future video. So yeah, getting back to the steering knuckles, I'm going to do the aluminum steering knuckles. I don't think anyone makes them aftermarket. I think I have to get them from FMS. Those are the only ones I've seen. If you guys know of any other ones, definitely let me know. I don't have any issue buying them from FMS, but I know it's just going to be a little bit of a wait to get them shipped out to me. But yeah, again, it's really just to reduce the amount of flex. When you add a spacer to it, it really increases the leverage on the mounting point, and it starts to flex, and you start to lose steering range in the front. So just to eliminate that, and then also just to beef it up. I could see, I've broken knuckles in the past. You take a little bit of a tumble and the front wheel hits something too hard, and you can't snap them. So I just want to make this rig as bulletproof as possible. It's heavy. There's a lot of strain on all the steering and the driveline components, so I think that's another reason that plastic drive shaft, it's good to get rid of those. So yeah, I have some Endura steel drive shafts on order. They should be here today. I'm going to do an install, make a little video on that, and show you guys the result, and then I'll link those up in the description if you want to do the same on your rig before yours breaks, or maybe yours broke already. Let me know. Let me know if you guys have had any other issues, if there's anything else I can expect to have issues with on this rig. It seems like it's pretty well built. I have a good amount of time on this already. I think I have probably a solid 8 hours out crawling, and you can see I'm not really taking it easy on this truck. I am out running this thing through some pretty rugged terrain, and yeah, the weight of it does just put a little more strain on everything. I'm happy to say the stock motor does extremely well. I haven't really found any instances where I really want a lot more power. A little bit stronger drag brake would always be nice, so maybe somewhere down the road I'll go with like a brushless, like a Hobbywing Fusion setup, but for now, stock works really well. So guys, I'm curious what you guys think. This clip right here, I started filming in a different mode. I started filming it in slow motion, and then when I edit everything, I speed it back up to like half speed. So I'm curious to know what you guys think. If you noticed from this clip previous, I was filming in cinematic mode, which is just 4K, standard speed. I'm curious what you guys think looks more realistic. I kind of like this because it slows it down just enough to make it look like more realistic in terms of the way the truck moves side to side. Like it looks like it has a lot more weight, like a real truck would. Because of course that's the one thing that doesn't really scale down properly is the weight, because I think a stock FJ40 is like somewhere in the range of 3,200 pounds. Even though this is heavy for an RC truck, you know, this thing's pushing, I think it's a little over 10 pounds now. It's nowhere near like scale weight. You know, if you were to scale down a real FJ, you know, to a 10 scale in terms of weight, it would weigh, you know, what, 320 pounds? So, you know, it's not even close. So that's why all RCs, when you watch them on video, it takes me kind of right out of it a little bit, where you just see it like bouncing around like it's a little toy. So I'm always kind of trying to set up my suspension and everything else to make it look like as real as possible. And I think the one way to do it is to film it in slow motion and then speed it back up to the point where you're not watching it. You know, a crawler in pure slow motion is like kind of brutal to watch because it takes you, you know, 5 minutes to get through one little section. So I feel like I'm pretty happy with this video technique here. But let me know what you guys think. If this looks better to you, or if you think the beginning of this I was filming in 4K looks better. I don't know if there's any loss in video quality. I'll have to check it after I upload it. I'll have to watch this on my big screen and see which one looks better to me. But I know definitely while I'm editing right here, I prefer this look a lot. So let me know what you guys think. So that's going to do it for this video, guys. I really appreciate you watching this whole video series. If you like it, give me a thumbs up. Consider subscribing. Check out my playlist. I finally got around to doing a playlist for this if you want to see all the other previous videos with the FJ40, and subscribe if you want to continue watching this series. If you have any questions or comments, something you want to see, or something you want to see me do to this truck, let me know, and I will try to make it happen. I definitely have a lot more plans for this, and I want to get out and run this thing more. It's quickly become one of my favorite RCs to take out onto the trail. Just always have a fun time with this truck. So yeah, that's it, guys. Thanks, and I will catch you in the next video. Later.